The Quinfall had their official early access launch a couple of days ago, and I decided to actually spend $20, disregarding all the warnings around the game, to check it out and see if it's actually worth getting into. In this video, I'll be covering how the launch has been for the game, what the Quinfall is actually about, because I got to play it on stream and see and test it out for myself. So with early access, this game has had a bunch of issues since the beginning. The first thing was that people couldn't get into the game. And a lot of people were suspecting that you couldn't get into the game because you could make a character, maybe if you got lucky, your connection was getting timed out, but they were saying that they were trying to get you to stay on that loading screen for 2 hours. That way you can't refund the game. So you couldn't get into the game at all for almost the whole day. You can make a character if you got lucky, and I got somehow lucky and I was able to make a character. But then the second issue came with the game is that the first NPC that you are supposed to interact with, which gives you like the first 10 quests to get you starting in the game, did not appear. If you play the game some more, the mobs, you couldn't see them. There was nothing else nothing dropped loot. Your skills barely was casting. There was just major issues with the game the first day. Some games have these issues, of course, but the issues were so big that even the team on Discord were like, we don't know what's happening. We tested this game, so it just sounded like they were completely clueless. So on day 2, I tried to stream it on day 1. I couldn't get into the game. And then I tried to play this game on day 2. And what I heard is if you go to America server, not EU, if you go to America server, the NPC would actually be there. So somehow this NPC traveled from EU servers to NA servers, so you could actually interact with him on NA, but on EU servers he was still gone. Well, the Asia servers kept getting crashes every 5 minutes. So every single server had their own issues. So in the NA server, it was like you could talk to this NPC, but once you got to a quest where you have to farm mobs to get contribution, the mobs couldn't give you contribution because they didn't drop loot and they didn't give you anything. So that was the other issues that I had. So I was able to try to grind myself to level 10 to explore some dungeons, but the early access I've had a bunch of issues. They're still in the game. It's I think 3 or 4 days in now. The game is still struggling. There's quests not working, their skills not working, their NPCs not working, stuff is not dropping stuff, and just huge issues, right? But that is just the early access. The early access has been absolutely a flop. But what about the game itself? If you take a looking away from all this early access and alpha games, we got to talk about the game itself. Now, the game has some huge major flaws. Now, if the game itself is a massive world, right? You have a huge world with a lot of things in it. You have these weapons that you can swap between and the skill trees that you can build. But the biggest issue that I've seen with the game is the combat doesn't feel good. It feels extremely clunky. The movement is absolutely horrible. So some of the skills look very good, but they just don't work properly. So the core mechanics of the game and how the game is, how you interact with things, how you interact with NPCs is terrible, how you complete quests is terrible, how you try to farm or grind in the game is very bad. Everything just does not feel good. And then I was like, you know what I really wanted to do? I wanted to do a dungeon. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go enter a dungeon, easy mode, first dungeon ever. I'm gonna just enter it in easy mode and see how it's done. So I entered this dungeon in easy mode, and I try to see where the biggest issue is with the game. And that is when you do these dungeons, first of all, the dungeons at the start look very interesting because they're like, you need to solve puzzles, you need to activate all the altars, you have to ring a bell to spawn the boss, which is all fine. But when you start it, you have to actually beat 185 mobs. And this is a solo dungeon, by the way. And the other bad part is I entered this dungeon right now, and you guys can see there's no monsters anywhere. Now they're not even here anymore. So, and then what happens with these monsters in the game is that the monsters inside of the game, they go through walls. Yes, there's no line of sight. They will follow you everywhere. If you go up the stairs, you go down the stairs, you do anything in the game, these monsters will follow you throughout everything. Because how the mobs work in this game is, this game has done it in a way where a mob has a spawn, it doesn't move, it stands still on that spawn, and if you take him away, he will just disappear and teleport back to the spawn. So each and every mob in this game is stationary, and there's no line of sight in this game, so they will walk through every single wall. Now, I've talked about a little about the combat and the dungeons and how big the world is, and this is where I have to kind of have to talk about why this game is not going to work. The idea of the game is made out of AI, right? It's made with Unreal Engine and AI, a lot of assets. I mean, there was a video exposing all of this stuff back in the day, but this is where I'm gonna give you guys a kind of an understanding how things are working with this game. So you have this, which is the Unreal Engine store, right? This is what they did basically. They went here, they play on Unreal Engine, and then they're like, hey, we need some 3D models. So what they do is they go here to 3D models. They find, for example, realistic looking cliffs right here. Looks amazing, looks awesome. They buy this and they put it into the game. Then they're like, we need some other stuff with our game. We need probably a good UI option. So they go here, they find some good looking UI, probably makes a little bit of effort changing stuff like this, for example, fantasy UI. They'll find some UI, they will buy it, they'll put it in the game. And they just do this with everything, right? They have almost every asset is bought. The animations of your characters, how they move, the attacks they use, everything just bought from the engine and put it into the game. So when you're walking around this world, right? You walk around this massive world, you see this huge trees, you see these huge mountains. But when you start walking, because I started to walk through the map, right? Because the map is supposed to be the biggest map ever seen. It's just the same thing. It's the same mountains. It's the same trees. So everything, all of these assets that they have bought is just a copy paste. So you just continuously see the same thing. The NPCs are the exact same. They're standing in the same type of rotations around the map. So they're just like literally they went to the map, they copied all, let's say they took 5 wolves, they took them, they copied them, and they pasted them over here, and then pasted them over here, and then they pasted them over here. Same with the mountains. They took a mountain, they pasted the same mountain over here, the same mountain over here. So they just took the assets, they put it in the game, but they have no understanding of how to develop the game. They had this issue with the one NPC that's not spawning. I still think he doesn't spawn in EU still after 3 days because they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to develop it. I swam out to the ocean. The ocean was really cool. The graphics were amazing of the water. I swam out to some turtles. And I was like, I'm going to board these turtles because these turtles were just standing in the same spot, same as every mob, right? It was stationary. And I couldn't get on top of it because the game has developed that you can get actually on top of these certain things or places. So the turtle just walked right through me, right? So the development of the game, it seems like the idea of using AI to build this game, it can work if you have actually competent developers. The world does look amazing because this is bought assets, right? This is not something they created, but something they bought and put into their game. But everything in this game does not work. The game had 6,000 players trying to log in on early access the first day. 6,000 players tried to get in. Nobody could get in. And those same 6,000 players sat... Oh, and I got disconnected from the server I'm in. The same 6,000 players sat and waited for 2 hours so they can no longer refund. So what I do think is, I think the Quinfall will probably just launch a meme coin called the Quinfall with the investment that they got from the $20 and try to make some more money. So overall, I have a horrible experience. This game is not early access. There's nothing in this game. It is worse. It's 10 times worse than Ashes of Creation early alpha. It's so buggy, it's so glitchy, there's so many issues with this game. Overall, just a horrible experience. I usually say games have potential, but I don't see this game having any type of potential out. It's really extremely lazy work with everything. AI is horrible. They have some stuff that you can buy inside the game to get like level EXP faster, the weapon EXP faster, all this other stuff much faster. So at the end of the day, I don't think you can enjoy it. The game does seem to have some content though. It does seem that it's going to be dungeons in this game. There's going to be some PvP options. There's some guild building basis options. I saw some people work on some guild base and stuff. So they do have a lot of content features, but it's going to be extremely buggy. This most likely going to be people using hacks, using bugs, using all type of glitches, and the developers have proven that they don't have the ability to fix anything. If they take 3 days to fix the first NPC in the game, how are they going to fix anything else? How are they going to show that they can develop or change anything with the game, right? What they've done with some of the skills, because they bought the skills animations from the Unity store or the Unreal Engine store, and to make them feel better, they just sped them up. That's the development they did for the skills. They took the skills, they sped them up, and they probably used ChatGPT for other prompts. I don't know. They're probably asking ChatGPT how to bring the NPC back, but ChatGPT is not telling them. So overall opinion of the Quinfall is, I mean, I didn't expect much because there was a lot of controversy around it. It's a game, but I still think there's nothing in the game, right? It's a really bad created game. There's still a game because a lot of people were like, they're probably not going to be a game at all. But right now, it just feels like it's just an empty world. It's a walking simulator. You can probably hit these mobs and try to farm and grind up to levels, but there's no content that you would probably enjoy. But thank you guys for watching my Quinfall review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about the game. It was fun streaming it because it was really funny of all the stuff in the game. But overall, I will not be playing it. Thank you guys. See you guys next time.